So we received a request from somebody today to talk about righteous anger. And this person was saying that in Christianity there's the idea of righteous anger, and she's quite angry right now about what is happening, the lack of civil rights, the police brutality, the oppression of the Black community. And she feels like her anger is, that it's righteous anger and it'll bring some good results. So, and she was puzzled when she read in some of my books when I said that anger was exaggerated, okay, and that it didn't see the situation exactly, as it was. So there's many ways to look at this. First of all, we sometimes think that anger is the only thing that's going to get us up off the couch to correct injustice. And that is a false assumption, okay? Compassion, which is what we see His Holiness the Dalai Lama manifesting, is far more potent in the long term for stopping oppression and injustice. Now, the thing is, people say, but if you're compassionate, then you're soft, you're gentle, and nothing happens. No, because having compassion or having anger has to do with our mental state. Okay? It's not the action, it's the mental state that motivates the action. The action is something else, and the same action can be done with opposite motivations sometimes. Okay, so that being compassionate doesn't mean you're being wimpy. It doesn't mean you're a people pleaser and you're just, so sweet that, everybody thinks you're a child. Okay, so you can, with compassion for the perpetrator and for the victim, speak out in a very strong way, a very assertive way. Yeah. So we don't need anger to motivate us to speak out about things. Okay. Also, what's the problem with anger motivating, working for social justice and all, is that anger works from the viewpoint of us versus them. And us versus them, you may get results, but the them feels resentful afterwards, usually. Yeah, they don't feel understood, they don't feel heard, because we are demanding things, we are fighting for this. I notice all the things I get in my email, demand this, demand that. Well, I don't like when people demand that I do things. So who am I to demand that other people do things? Yeah. Then you say, oh, what do? You encourage them? Oh, please don't be so racist. It's really not very nice. No, I'm not talking about that. You can have a compassionate motivation, but your strategy can be very assertive, very noteworthy. And if you look, okay, Mahatma Gandhi, totally pacifist. Does that mean that there was, that what he did made no headlines in the newspaper? Okay, no, he was pacifist. He knew that some of the authorities would respond violently to what he was doing. Yeah, he was willing to do that and to suffer the consequences. Because interestingly enough, sometimes it's only when there's violence involved that the rest of the country wakes up and pays attention. This was what happened with the civil rights movement too. Yeah. Yes, Martin Luther King was pacifist and nonviolent, but he knew very good and well that the police and the troopers were going to respond with violence. And he knew that when that was televised across America, it would wake people up enough that they paid attention to civil rights issues for African Americans. Okay, so it's not wanting violence, it's not deliberately perpetrating violence, it's not being meek, and it's not saying that only by violence do you get results. You know, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, it was seeking autonomy for Tibetans, is very pacifist. Yeah, he doesn't advocate violent actions at all. And yet it's through his moral assertiveness that people pay attention to what he's saying. Okay. So the problem with anger, in addition to the us and them philosophy, is that basically our minds become exactly like the minds of the people that we're protesting against. They're angry, they're defensive, they think that we aren't listening. So we're angry, we're defensive, we think they aren't listening. Yeah, everybody feels frustrated. Yeah, everybody's afraid of losing because it's been billed as a fight, and in fights there are winners and losers. Okay, so there's that problem that hinders the negotiation process. Then there's also the fact that when our mind is under the influence of anger, we are not so rational and we are not so reasonable. Now, of course, we always accuse the other party. They are not rational. They are not reasonable. Yeah. But when we're angry, we often are the same way. Okay. If you just review some of your behavior when you're angry, how you talk to people. Yeah. Do you often regret what you say in the heat of anger? Yeah. Because often we make black and white statements. We accuse people of things that they didn't do because we feel we can mind read and we know their motivation. Okay. With anger, we don't hold back from dumping blame on everybody else, making us the pure one, but everybody else wrong. Okay, so that's what is exaggerated about anger. Yeah, is we're right, they're wrong, they need to change, we demand change, and they should, mind the word should, deliver everything I want. Yeah, because they are harming people. Yeah, and me? Well, I'm angry, but I'm the victim. Yeah, and so our speech, our actions often work to counter purposes when we're angry. Okay. So I think that compassion can be a very strong voice, especially when it's a moral voice, working for change. And I think that moral voice holds authority over time much longer than the angry voice does. Because change isn't just getting somebody to change what you want them to change right now. it also has to do with sustaining the change over a long period of time. So it's not just changing policing in America right now. It's changing policing in America, all forever, so that it has a long-term effect. We're not just undoing, racist things right now that disturb people. Yeah, we're trying to really change people's minds over the long term and change institutions over the long term. Yeah, and compassion gives us the inner strength and patience and fortitude to stick with the thing over the long term. And it's always going to take a long time for society to change. Yeah, a really long time. And when we're angry, we want it to change tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's why I am not somebody who espouses righteous anger. Yeah, it just doesn't, at least for me, seem to work. Also, personally speaking, I do not feel very good when I let myself get angry. And I may be totally just in, these people are racist and look what they're doing and the police this and no. But I don't feel good about myself afterwards. Yeah. And I think whenever we do activist work, we have to feel good about ourselves. Yeah. Let me add just one little tidbit. One time when I was in Israel, I was speaking with one Israeli, and we were, of course, talking about the situation. This was, maybe 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. And we were talking, it was about the 6-Day War. I can't remember, one of the wars. And he started saying about how the Jews were ethically superior, ethically, morally superior to the Palestinians. And that's why they, deserve to win. And okay, I'm Jewish, but I did not sit back and take that, I said, on what grounds do you say that? Yeah, you cannot say that. Every side has done virtue, every side has done non-virtue. You can't claim moral superiority, not when all you do is blame the other side. Yeah. So I don't know if it got through or not. It was an interesting conversation. Yeah, it was very interesting. Yeah.